Old School Lane Casual Chats is brought to you by Old School Lane, producing various content from blogs, videos, and podcasts discussing about movies, TV shows, video games, and everything else in between since 2011. You can check out the podcast on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Radio Public, Overcast, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and YouTube. We're associated with Channel Frederator, Manic Expression, The Comic Book Cast, and The Aaron Meta Show. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Casual Chats. I am Patricia, and I am back with Liam Higgins.
Hey.
And so we have ourselves a very special guest. You may know him for his work on both live action and in voiceover. Everything from Picket Fences, Veronica Mars, Love and Marriage, Child's Play 2, As Told by Ginger, and many more. We have Adam Wylie. So welcome, Adam.
Hey, good to be here. How are you guys?
We're doing really well, thank you. I must ask you, so what did you get your influences for acting?
I got my influences for acting actually from my brother. My brother was an actor for a very short amount of time and got out of the business and became a professional dancer. And when I was really little, I noticed he was out of the house a lot. I wondered why he was gone. And my mom told me, his agent saw me, they picked me up. I started going out on auditions. She said, why not try it? I ended up booking a lot of work and growing up to really love it.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. So what made your brother decide to do dancing instead of acting?
Oh, I have no idea. He was better at it, honestly. He wasn't a very good actor.
Oh, wow. Okay, well.
I'm not going to lie.
Okay, fair enough.
Was your brother in, like, professional things like you, or was it more... Like
he was in. He did a made-for-TV movie, and then he did a Disney like DVD movie called The River Pirates with Anne Ramsey, which actually my dad was in as well. His only acting credit. Both my mom and my dad have one acting credit. It's so funny.
Wow.
Other than that, no. Then he danced professionally in ballet for 4 different companies.
All right. And
Great.
What's his name?
Oh, his name is Ben.
Okay. Yeah, so I see from all of your work, I mean, you started at a very young age. So
I did.
I know that a lot of people who especially grew up in the early to mid 90s know your work for Picket Fences. So how did you get that role?
Picket Fences was much like any other role. I was out on an audition and got a call back, then another call back, then went to a producer's call with a mix and match with different actors who would play my brother. And Justin Shankarow and I, who ended up being cast as my brother from Erie, Indiana, previously, we had really good chemistry together. We still keep in contact today. We still work together on a lot of voiceover jobs and such to this day. In fact, we worked together just a couple of weeks ago. One of the only times I've been physically in a studio in quarantine, which is kind of crazy. And that's just kind of how it worked.
And we here at Old School Lame are familiar with Justin Shankarow because I interviewed him for his work on Hey Arnold around 2013.
Yeah, another show we did together.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so he and we briefly talked. This was back in the day when I used to send my questions via email, and then I would post it on my blog, but I don't do that anymore because I have my podcast. But yeah, I definitely need to have him over at some point. So yeah, so what was your favorite times working on Picket Fences?
I would say all of them. To be honest, Picket Fences was an incredibly tight-knit cast and crew. We had a lot of fun. We knew that we were pushing the boundaries and dealing with things that in the early 90s were just not things that people were comfortable talking about. If the show was on today, I think it would last forever. But it was so shocking back when it was on. And I really loved every episode that I got to be in because there was always something strange and unusual for me to do, whether it was playing hockey, which I still do in real life, or playing like dress up, or even doing taming an elephant, which I did once in an episode, from me being what is that called, having stigmata in an episode, to me having my first kiss. It was the greatest learning experience I could ever have as a young actor, and taught me so much to be surrounded by that much talent.
How did you get in? Well, obviously through auditioning, but one of your first roles was Kindergarten Cop, which was a pretty big and successful movie. How did the success of that affect 6-year-old you?
Oh, I'm not gonna lie, not at all. It was, I was so young when it came out. I was in kindergarten, so I was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, it was just another job. By then, I had already done like 50 commercials and a couple of guest spots and 3 other movies before then. And the gravity of how big the movie is doesn't really hit you as a 6-year-old, because you're more concerned about going outside to play.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're going to play the next video game. So to be honest, it was just completely normal to me. Everybody always asks, how was Arnold? How was talking to Arnold? I was like, I don't know. I was 6. I don't really remember much because I was a kindergartner. It's so funny. I think we, as adults, we look back and I go, oh, that must have been so cool. But to be honest, as a 6-year-old, you're like, oh yeah, there's a big guy. I know that he's a bodybuilder, and he's been considered the best ever. Cool. Can I go play on the swings now? That's kind of what it was, honestly. So, but I had a blast filming it. The only thing about that movie is the state of California said that I wasn't physically in school enough, and they made me repeat kindergarten again.
Oh my God.
Because I was filming.
Oh my God.
Which is so weird because, we had private tutors on the set. We had an entire kindergarten like that. We formed a real kindergarten class behind the scenes. And it was very strange how they would think that. But back in the 90s, I think that they had a different idea of what schooling was like on the set, as opposed to now, where homeschooling is kind of common and people understand better what the functionality of it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you being in this industry for so long, how do you keep that balance between, oh, I've been in this, I've met up with all these people, I've done this role, but still keep your integrity as opposed to like going too far into saying, I did this and I did that. So if for any of our listeners who want to go into the acting industry, especially if they're really, really young, how does one keep their ego from going too far?
Well, I mean, that's an individual decision, I think. I think the ego is, it can play with you no matter what industry you're in. But to be honest, I think of acting as just a job like any other job, except it's an entertainment and more people can see you do it. And that's really all there is to it, is that I show up, I love what I do my job. And beyond that, people think it's really, really cool. And yes, you get a lot of recognition from it and people want to talk to you about it, but you also get a lot of people who try to bring you down just as much as you have people who love it. So I think to be understanding that what you're doing is important, but it's not necessarily bigger than other jobs that don't have as much exposure. There are people out there saving lives. There are people out there doing way more different things, but my talent lies in this certain area of entertaining, and I'm happy to do it and happy to provide a smile to somebody's face. And if I can just get one person to get lost in their normal life and their stress to go away and really be enjoying the work so much, that's really what drives me.
Absolutely. And considering that, especially in this industry, I mean, I'm sure that back then in the 90s, it's like, I'm sure with the exception of maybe like your classmates or your family or your friends, but nowadays with the internet, getting to spread all that kind of information, it tends to be the case in which, like, the right words to say and the wrong words to say, and you need to be able to know, okay, I want to be able to, state this in a more positive way or a negative way or a neutral way. So yeah, it's good to know that you were able to keep things intact.
Yeah, I think that comes with time and age, to be honest with you. I was very lucky because in the height of my big television show and a lot of the things that I've done where they were super popular, like even Gilmore Girls, it was on at a point where the internet wasn't a thing yet. There wasn't Instagram, Facebook wasn't even a thing. It was still like Friendster. Like there wasn't even MySpace. Like I think MySpace was new when Gilmore Girls came out. So and everyone had just Tom and yourself as a friend. I actually thought that was interesting because fame nowadays is so different because you are so much more exposed because of the internet.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You're way more exposed, especially with a lot of news outlets wanting to find the latest dirt on someone, saying, "Oh, that one person did that one minute thing 4 years ago, and we're gonna milk them for all they worth," or
Yeah,
they want to
I think
warn
that's
somebody.
ridiculous. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's ridiculous. But I also think that it's really cool that you can be on a show now and then be popular on social media and harness that fame because as an actor's job, it's very inconsistent. We don't know when the next job is going to come ever. It's not like you get one job and then offers just start pouring in. That's just not how it works. You still have to audition like everybody else who comes out here from Iowa and compete in all of these things, and it's a constant competition. So the fact that you are able to take a project now and use it as a social media advantage is actually quite spectacular. And in some respects, I kind of wish that it was around when I was younger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that at one point, all of us wish that, oh man, if this would have came out like around when I was this age, my life would be so much easier. So I can feel you.
Mm-hmm.
Going in from, your work in commercials and your work in live action, eventually you decided to go into the work of voiceover. So was it challenging for you to do a lot of your voiceover work compared to being an on-camera actor, especially since you were in a lot of Nicktoons that a lot of people, fondly remember of? So, like you were Curly and Hey Arnold, you were Ian Richardson and As Told by Ginger, and even with like Disney, you were Crash and Pepper Ann.
Yeah, voiceover was actually one of the first acting I ever did. So at 4.5, I did The Swan Princess, and I was young Prince Derek, and they needed a singer, and I was a singer, and I started out my career in musical theater. So voiceover is very much like theater, where you have to emote basically only with your voice because the audience can't see you as well in theater, so you have to project. And voiceover is very much the same, where projection is key, being able to distinguish your emotions through your voice and act as such was something that I was just very, very used to. And to be honest, it's kind of second nature to me because I've been doing it since I was so young. I think it would be harder to make the transition had I done strictly film and TV and not been a theater kid and then gone into voiceover. I think that transition would be a lot harder. And I notice a lot of even big stars struggle with that. And the ones that have more of a theater background tend to excel in it right away.
So I need to know, especially with a lot of our listeners who are actually huge fans of the Nicktoons, because I cover them a lot on my channel. Curly for Hey Arnold and Ian for As Told by Ginger. So, especially with Curly being such a wacky, over the top character, what would you
Yeah.
say are your favorite moments or favorite lines from him?
I really love the moment where he covers himself in all silver and says, "It's clogging up my pores." Like, I think that is one of the greatest lines in history. I also really loved the Carmen opera episode. That was one of my favorite things to record in the world. I just loved singing all of that, and I thought it was so much fun. I think Craig Bartlett's a genius
Hmm.
and has done some great work over the years with Hey Arnold, Dinosaur Train, as well as his other things. It's just, um, I was really blessed to be on such a fun show and have so much memorable things. And actually, I originally auditioned to replace Torrin Caudell as Arnold.
Oh, okay.
Um, because his voice had changed and he became Wolfgang. And then when I went in, I did a voice match, and I'm really, really good at matching voices. I've been doing that my whole life, and I've voice matched a lot of big stars that you guys would be shocked are actually not them and me, which is pretty funny. So when I went in to so I've been doing that since I was really little. So I was also the singing voice of Jonathan Taylor Thomas growing up. I did everything except for Lion King, which was very interesting because I had to leave Lion King early, the audition for something else, which I eventually got. I think it was All Dogs Go to Heaven 2 or something like that, which
Hmm.
stinks because I wish I would have stayed also with the Lion King audition, because if both would have happened, that would have been amazing. But, everything happens for a reason. I went in, I did this evil laugh because it was the pilot episode where Arnold gets a baseball bat and he stays on the Empire State Building. And he's like, "Yeah, that's right. I'm going to swing it. I'm going to swing it all day." Then I did this evil laugh, which became Curly's signature evil laugh. And because of that laugh, Craig actually created Curly from that laugh.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow,
So
that's
that is how
amazing.
Curly was born, was strictly because I went in to audition to be Arnold, and they made a new character instead.
Wow. That's fantastic. Considering that usually when it comes to like the a show creation, it's like unless of course something like really sticks out, they don't usually create new characters on the spot. They already have their story bible listed with everything that the show needs to be about. So good on you, Adam.
Thank you.
Seen as you're one of a few child actors who've continued being a child star into adulthood, especially from Hey Arnold, as I know many of the actors from that show did not continue being actors as adults. Have you still managed to keep in touch with them, even though they went into other professions?
Some of the kids I have kept in touch with, and some of them not. To be honest, most of them who stopped acting,
Mm-hmm.
I don't really keep in touch with. Most of them don't live in California or have or do something very, very normal in a different state. So it's hard to keep in touch when you don't see them all the time. But the
Mm-hmm.
ones who continue to act, for the most part, I've kept in touch with, like Justin Shankarow, Olivia Hack,
Mm-hmm.
even Torin Lane. Um, Definitely see him a lot, even though he lives in a different state, but has a huge Instagram presence.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and let's see, from Hey Arnold, Philip Van Dyke, who then was Arnold, who also I did the Crayola Kids Adventures movies with, and what else did I do with Phil? I feel like I've done so much stuff with Philip that it's ridiculous. But yeah, and I don't think he's acting anymore, but I still kept in touch with him. Who else from that show? I mean, a lot of the adults I see all the time too, like Jess Harnell, who was on the show, and I run into those guys all the time, which is really, really fun to be able to do that. And it's so cool because I get to walk by the stage that we recorded Hey Arnold on every week all the time, because it's in Burbank on Magnolia, right next to the Porto's Bakery. So I always see it. And really fun memories passing by there. So yeah, some of them I keep in touch with, and some of them, unfortunately, we've lost touch. But it would be really fun to do a reunion, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially since next year would be the 25th anniversary of Hey Arnold.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that.
I know, it's crazy.
Actually, I know they made
most of the listeners are probably not even that old. It happened 25 years ago. And I was already 11 or how 9, 10, whatever it was. Lord.
Actually, you still have a very like boyish sounding voice.
Thank you. I guess that's why I'm Peter Pan.
Yeah, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't bring you back for that movie, that Hey Arnold movie they made a few years ago, the Jungle movie.
I don't think I quite get to that area. I mean, I don't know if I could quite get to a prepubescent me. I might be able to almost get there, but it would definitely be a struggle. But yeah, I think I'd be willing to try to voice match a younger me and see how it goes. For sure.
Speaking of which, especially since the reason why the movie was able to come by in the first place was because of the fans. And I know that Craig has stated many times about how he's always appreciative of the fans who give him fan art and who give him messages and who tell them that, how much Hey Arnold meant to them. So what are your thoughts on the fan community of Hey Arnold?
I think the fan community of Hey Arnold's awesome. They have been super supportive. I get some people coming up to me saying, hey, in college, your name or your character name from Hey Arnold was my Wi-Fi name, and my password was one of your lines. And so I really appreciate your work. I think they're very dedicated. I think they really love the show. What's not to love? The show was phenomenal. I watched it all the time, even when I wasn't in it, because I just loved the show. I thought it was so well done that it's a fan favorite, and I can understand why.
I guess, for a lot of people who, stated all my stuff, especially since I have been known for my As Told by Ginger contents, they, or, especially, now that you're here, especially you being Ian Richton. So what was that experience like?
As Told by Ginger was so much fun. We filmed recorded in the Nickelodeon Oh Yeah Cartoons building that is on Highland, next to the Little Red Schoolhouse at the starts with a K. Well, I can't remember the name. Building, but it was so awesome. I was usually in there alone because I was much younger than anybody else on the show, but sometimes I got to record with a few other principal actors, and that was so much fun, and it was so interesting, like being the only real teenager, or one of the only real teenagers on the show. It was also the first time that I played a cool guy, so I was really excited to be able to voice a cool guy, because normally I'm like, the geeky nerd who's over there doing things in the corner. So it was really nice to be able to have like that suave thing and be somebody's crush. I just thought that was like the coolest part ever.
We had interviewed Aria Noel Curzon a few months ago, and you and her did a movie together, Santa with Muscles, with Mila Kunis. I'm just curious. Mila Kunis. I'm just curious. When she became a big star, what was your reaction?
I wasn't super surprised. I mean, she on set was awesome, and you could tell right away that she kind of had this amazing it factor. She's a gorgeous human being inside and out, and her family is gorgeous, and it's just not a super big shocker to me that she blew up after that 70s show and had such a big movie career. I loved every second working with Mila, and I think that she's just an awesome human being.
All right, glad to hear that.
And going more into your other voiceover work, so a lot of people know your various characters on American Dragon, Jake Long, alongside
Yes.
with yes, alongside with Dante Bosco and Mae Whitman and various other people. So,
Oh yeah.
tell us about your experiences on that.
I loved Jake Long American Dragon. I thought that was such a fun show, and playing so many different roles on it was just a blast. And I remember sometimes I had to have two of my characters in the same scene, and that was so much fun. Again, we recorded a lot separately, but sometimes we wouldn't. And May and I have worked together a bunch of times, and Dante and I think we only did American Dragon together, but we recorded usually either together or back to back. So we would see each other just about once a week. And what a cool guy that is. I mean, just to like be in the presence of Rufio, I was just like so stoked, to be honest with you. And May is one of the sweetest girls ever and so talented. I love her dearly.
Sure.
And we still keep in contact today, which is really great. And Dante I haven't seen in a little bit, but I used to run into him like all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I loved that show.
Has there ever been a time people have pointed out a movie to you or a TV show that you were in, and you were like, I don't remember doing that?
Yes, that happens all the time. To be honest, Seventh Heaven was a big one for me. When I first was on TikTok, a lot of people would say, "Were you on Seventh Heaven?" And I was like, "No, that's Christopher Castile." And they were like, "No, you were on Seventh Heaven." And I was like, "I know I wasn't." And then and then something popped up of a clip of Seventh Heaven, and I went, "Oh yeah, I did do that show." So yeah, there has been guest star spots that I have totally forgot were me. There's been some also like made for TV movies where people are like, "Did I see you in blah blah blah?" And I was like, "No, I don't think that was me." And then I rewatch it and I go, that was me. I take that back. That absolutely was me. So yes, there are a lot of things that get lost in the shuffle, and there are some things that actually aren't on IMDb. So when one of those things kind of pops up, I go, "Is that me?" Or something gets retitled for a different country. That is another reason why you'd be like, "Nah, I wasn't in that movie. I don't even remember that." And it's like, "Oh, it got retitled." Yes, that was absolutely me.
Right. I think that I remember voice actor Rob Paulson mentioning about like he has been in so many projects and sometimes he doesn't remember everything that he's been in, and he says that that's actually a good thing because you've been in so many things. It's like you're continuing to work. So
Oh, absolutely. And people quote lines to you and you're like, "Cool, I'm sure I said that at one point." And they're like, "That's my favorite line." And I'm like, "Awesome."
Yeah, I get you. I get you.
I love Rob. He's great.
Mm-hmm.
Great guy.
So, especially for all of our listeners tuning in, if they want to get into the acting industry, what advice would you give them?
I would tell them to run.
Okay.
Here's the thing with acting. This is what you have to understand is acting seems easy. It's very, very difficult. It's a very tight-knit community, and you have to be 100% committed to acting. If you have a plan B, you're not, it's done. It's already over from the start. So if you must be in this crazy business where work is super inconsistent, sometimes you will definitely worry how you're going to pay your rent or your bills that week. And no matter how successful you are, you're going to struggle. You're going to go on about 1,000 auditions, and you're maybe going to get a call back for one, let alone get a job. Here's my advice. If you still want to be in this crazy, crazy, crazy industry, you have to fully dedicate yourself. Take as many classes as you possibly can. Learn, learn, learn. Be a sponge and soak it up. Don't be afraid to take advice from people who have a lot of experience. Casting directors, agents, managers, they will tell you what works because they've seen what works. Please take that in and please be moldable and know what needs to be improved. Nobody knows everything. I've done a lot of work and been very fortunate to work in this industry, but I gotta tell you, I'm still learning things and I'm still growing and trying to keep up with the times because everything is ever evolving. And that's so important, to be able to be flexible and understand. Have a thick skin. You're going to hear no about 1 billion times more than you're going to hear the word yes. So if you cannot stand anybody saying your voice is a little whiny, or you're a little too short, or your nose is too big, then this is not the business for you, because you're going to hear that with every corner of the world, because it's just a judgmental business. And that's kind of just how it goes. So please have a thick skin. Don't ever stop learning. Don't ever stop creating. And if you have a real talent for it, hone your talent, but make sure you listen. If people are telling you that doesn't work, then there's a reason for it. If people are telling you you really need to push more forward in this, then you need to push more forward in that. Also, make sure you know what you are. If I was a guy trying to be Brad Pitt, my career never would have worked, because I'm just simply not a Brad Pitt type. But you want the funny friend who does funny stuff, or the kid who can cry on cue. That is me, and those are the jobs that I know that I can be very successful in. And then you can create other opportunities from there, but you've got to play into what your strengths are. That's why I think a lot of people fall short. A lot of people want a certain singing voice when they have naturally a singing voice. Hone that natural talent. That's a very important thing. So if you're going to do it, you've got to be fully pot committed to it. And if it turns out that the talent isn't quite there, you've also got to listen to that. I can't tell you how many people don't quite have what it takes, and then they stick with it for years and years and years and years and years and years and years. Find your thing. Find your talent. It's so very important. But if you do have the talent for this, people all around you, casting people big in the business, are telling you to keep going, then please learn, take classes, do all of the things. We want you. This world needs you. Entertainment is so vastly rewarding, but it is a struggle to get there. And I promise you, if you stick with it and fight through all the wars and the battles and keep growing and knowing that you are progressing in the industry, then you will absolutely get there. And I will then see you in the recording studio and be happy to work alongside you.
Wow. I mean, here's the thing. Like, I have had various actors and actresses in my show over the years talking about, oh, if you do this and if you work hard and all that kind of stuff, if you take all the classes, you'll, eventually at some point you'll get it. But never have I heard somebody say, no, if you're not ready for this, don't do it. So you know what?
It's true, though.
That's great, because
I appreciate that.
I
think that you have to have a little bit of natural talent. If you don't have a little bit of natural talent, it does not matter how many classes you take. I've been doing this so long, and I'm going to, for instance, say I can't do math. I can't do math at all. I have had my best friend tutor me. I have done everything I can to be good at it, even like cooking. I'm just not good at it. I try. I do, but I'm just not good at it. And no matter how many classes I take, that's not going to change. You have to have some type of base talent.
Yeah, I guess there's kind of an interesting debate about, what kind of, which talent is very important for what skill. Is it the talent that you were naturally born with, or is it the talent that you constantly work hard at?
It's both.
Yeah, sure, it's both. But yeah, I mean, if you're not good at something, no matter how hard you tried, it doesn't mean that you're a failure. It just means that you need to go off. You just need to find your skills and your passion somewhere else, and that's okay.
Exactly. And you know what? There are many other ways to be successful in this industry. Maybe you're a very talented writer. Maybe you create shows. Maybe you draw and you can make a cartoon of your own. But maybe the voice acting part or the on-camera acting part or whatever just isn't your thing, but you're an incredible director and you have an eye for cinematography. See, these things are also needed. So if you enjoy entertaining, I really encourage you to find your section of entertaining that works best for the talent that God naturally gave you, that you are born with, and then hone that and make it as strong as it possibly can be.
Yeah. Lately I've been I wanted to be an actor more all my life, but lately I've been getting more into producing.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Producers are so needed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't really, I do like acting and all that kind of stuff, but, I find myself, happier when I do writing or when I do editing.
That's awesome. You got to do what makes you happy, too. That's a very big part of it.
Oh, yeah,
I've seen
absolutely.
a lot of actors that got out of this business as they got older, because they just didn't have a love for it. And no matter how talented you are at something, if you don't have a love for it, then it's never going to come from a real honest place. And acting is best when it's grounded and coming from a place of security and realism.
Yeah, for sure. So, do you have any other questions, Liam?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, yeah, I think that's a great way to end things off. So, Adam, thank you so much for coming on by.
Absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me.
So, yeah, why don't you plug and promote your stuff?
Awesome. So you can find me on social media. I am at This Is Adam Wylie, both on Instagram and on TikTok. I go live on TikTok quite often. So you can see me do live magic, voices, talk about my experiences, talk about my current projects, and all of that stuff. So follow me on the social of medias.
All right. And what do you got, Liam?
All right. Well, you can find me on Facebook, either Liam Higgins, my my personal page, or my fan page, which is, again, Liam Higgins, New York City, at Liam Higgins, New York City. Or you can find my Instagram, which is Liam/Higgins/25. And if you want to if you have a podcast that you want to book, or if you want to produce a film, I'm your guy. And you can also email me at kpwhiggins@gmail.com.
I am at YouTube, youtube.com/oldschoollane. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/oldschoollane. I'm on Twitter at Patty_B_Miranda. You can listen to my podcast at Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Radio Public, all those places. New episodes of my podcast will go there first, and then it'll go up in a few days on YouTube. So again, thank you so much for coming on, Adam. Let us know in the comments below about your favorite roles and performances that Adam has been in, whether it be with live action, whether it be with animation. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Hope to see you around soon, and take care.